Hey, welcome back, and thanks for watching Precision Rifle Network. This is Justin. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the Garmin Xero Chronograph, but more specifically using it during a match and during stages. So everybody has probably seen these by now. Awesome chronograph, making waves throughout shooting. But today we're not going to get into all about the chronograph, more about why you would want to use these during a match. Really, when this hit the market, everybody was selling their chronographs to get a Garmin. Awesome chronograph, super easy to use. It's basically turn it on and it just works. The tripod that it comes with, which if you're not planning on using it during a stage, that tripod is really all you need. Throw it up next to your gun, get your data, and just keep rolling. So now let's move into a couple of different mounting options. You'll see here I've got two different mounting options. This Area 419 or Area 419, whichever they prefer. The Arca rail, obviously everybody has an Arca rail. So this mount is nearly universal. Most people shooting PRS and matches have an Arca rail on their gun. So very simple to throw on and use. And the only cons to this is it's not as low profile. It does stick out to the side, which makes it easier to see if you're needing to see it, but it's a little less sleek, a little obtrusive, and can tend to get hung up on things or bump things a little bit easier with it going out to the side like that. So not as streamlined, not as low profile, but it does come with that Arca rail mount, so it is more universal on most rifle setups. The other one would be the Picatinny mount that Gray Ops put out. You see here, this one, pick rails, are kind of, I guess, easing their way out. You don't see as many pick rails on guns anymore, in PRS anyway. You do see guys still using them on their scope rings like this. So if you have a scope, the Hawkins or whatever scope rings you're running, if you have that pick rail, this is a great option. Otherwise, you may have to get a pick rail attachment or something to figure out where you want to mount this on your rifle. But with this, it is much more low profile. It's easy to throw on and take off, and it seems to fit in more places if you're wanting to shoot more stages. I feel like this one would be the better option for most stages. But like I said, you are limited to having that pick rail on your scope rings. If you don't have that, the Arca rail may be a better option. There's going to be those stages where you're having to get in some tight spaces. You see here, if you have a stage like this where you're shooting through windows, it's going to take you a little extra time if you have that chronograph mounted to figure out, okay, how am I going to fit this gun in? Those aren't going to be the stages that you're going to want to use your chronograph and shoot the stage with. You're going to want to look at stages that are more open air stages, that it's just something you can throw your rifle on. It doesn't matter if something's sticking out to the side or sticking up, because it's a more open stage, especially troop lines. Great times to throw a chronograph on if you're shooting stages, like I said, where you're not having to get into a tight fitting space and there's not obstacles around that are going to bump into that chronograph. So let's talk about why you would want to use a chronograph, this Garmin specifically, during a match, right? Well, obviously, chronograph is to get you some velocity numbers. So why do you need velocity during a match, and how can that benefit you and your performance during that match? So obviously, you want to know that your velocity lines up with what you have in your ballistics calculator. That's a given. So for instance, one example would be, say you just bought a barrel and you're in that break-in process. You don't want to waste 200 rounds just practicing, training. Say you got a match, a local club match, one-day match. You want to go and shoot that barrel and that ammo and break it in during a match. Well, now you can use a chronograph during your match to track your velocity and help you stay on target, so you're not just guessing, but actually get your data and kind of see what your barrel break-in looks like through those 100 rounds or so during a match, and see how much variance you have from when you start shooting your first few rounds to when you end 100 rounds later. Another one, especially for your rimfire guys, temperature swings. If you are shooting a match and it is cold in the morning and warm in the afternoon, or throughout the day it just consistently warms up, and you want to check your velocity to make sure that it's lining up, that you're right where you need to be in your ballistic solver or in your Kestrel. And really the main reason you would want to use this during a stage and during a match is to just eliminate that variable. There's so many variables that come into play when we're shooting, and this is just one that you can eliminate when you're trying to problem solve. Say you have some shots that are going high or shots that are going low, or you're just missing and you don't know why. You can throw your chronograph on, shoot a stage, and verify, okay, this was a velocity issue, or that it wasn't a velocity issue, and that's just one less variable that you have to consider. Say you are reloading, or you're shooting factory ammo and you have different lots of ammo, and say you happen to be in the stage and you realize, okay, I just have two lots, one that I reloaded a month ago, one that I reloaded last night, and you're switching over to that new lot and you want to make sure your velocity lines up. Well, now you have a chronograph that you can shoot a stage with and verify that during a match. You don't have to worry about that outside of the match. Obviously, ideally, you're shooting all the same consistent ammo. But also, rimfire guys, you guys know that your guns can be very picky on what lots of bullets. Maybe the same brand bullet, but a different lot number. And so switching over to that new lot number, say you land, that switch is happening during a match. Well, now you can put that chronograph on, shoot a stage with it, and verify your data that, okay, maybe your velocity picked up 20 feet a second, or maybe it dropped, but you can verify that and take the guesswork out of that. Like I said, eliminating the variables of it. So a lot of times you may not, unless you're shooting ELR, you're not going to actually watch your velocity on your chronograph during a stage. Now, if you have time, say you're shooting a long troop line and you want to track it, okay, that shot went low, and you look over and you're like, oh, my velocity was 50 feet a second lower, and that's a long shot, so maybe that played into the factor why you missed low. But for ELR guys, the guys are shooting 2,000 plus yards. Well, yeah, that velocity can play a huge factor in a hit or a miss. So those guys are likely using that data in real time on the clock, confirming, okay, my velocity was a little lower, so maybe I don't need to make an adjustment. Maybe I just need to hold the exact same hold and my velocity match what I have on my data to get that hit. So most of the time shooting PRS, you're going to use this, shoot a stage, then go back and verify your data, look through your shot list, see where your velocity's falling, look at your SDs and your extreme spread to make sure you don't need to make any adjustments. Check out the Garmin if you haven't already. There's tons of videos on them. What a great tool to use. But I hope this video was helpful on why you might want to use these during an actual match and how you would want to use that. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe if you haven't. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.